Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravy, a website designer and business coach for entrepreneurs and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want a deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a successful business and stand out in a crowd, you're in the right place. After creating a multiple six-figure-a-year website design business in my 20s, I'm ready to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, branding, website design, mindset, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. All right, guys, in this episode, I'm walking you through 4 of the pages that basically every website has, and I'm sharing my number 1 tip for improving each of these pages. So if you only did one thing to improve your website on each page and you just had a moment to do something, these are the things I'd suggest. And I will say it was hard picking just one per page, but I promise I've selected what I would say as a designer is the most important and also like the easiest to fix, going to get you the most bang for your buck, so to speak, on each page. So we're covering your homepage, about page, contact page, and service page. So no matter what you do in your business, no matter what your website looks like right now, you're going to lead this episode with some really quick, actionable ways to improve your website. So let's go. Hello, guys. Okay, before we get into the tips, crazy thing. This is the first episode I'm recording since my son Colin was born. Everything up until now, and actually some stuff after this episode too, was recorded before my maternity leave. And I'm actually still on maternity leave right now, but I'm back recording just a little, like I knew I'd be working a little bit while I'm on leave. And so that's what I'm doing now. And everything feels so different. I'm hoping he'll stay asleep while I do this. He's sleeping in the other room. Adam's watching him while Adam does work as well. And if he wakes up, then I'm going to go back to mama life and have to pause recording this. So anyway, but more coming on the personal side with birth stuff and postpartum life. I know I'm going to do an episode about my postpartum journey and some things I've learned. And also we'll do a maternity leave update episode because you guys heard the episode about like how I plan my maternity leave. I want to do it like a, okay, how did that go type of episode and possibly a birth story. I haven't decided yet if I want to share like the whole story on the podcast or not. I'm still actually like not even done processing or writing out my own birth story yet. So definitely not ready to like share it with everyone, but we'll see. Let me know if you do want a birth story type episode, and we'll see about that. But anyway, our son is Colin Marc McCravy. He was born September 2nd, and y'all, he is just the sweetest, cutest baby. I love him so much. I still sometimes can't believe he's real and that I'm his mom. Curious if any other new moms can relate to that. I say that to Adam and he's like, I don't get what you mean, but I just sometimes look at him and I'm like, I cannot believe you're real and that you're actually here. And you would think that being pregnant for over 9 months, because he was born at 41 weeks, you would think that would make something feel real, but it doesn't. It doesn't feel real a lot of the time. So anyway, I'm here chatting with you as a very sleep-deprived new mom who also has a cold. So gotta love that, like possibly a little raspy voice I have going on right now. And the most sleep I've had consecutively in 6 weeks, because Colin is 6 weeks now at the time of recording this, was 4 hours and 45 minutes 2 nights ago. And y'all, it was glorious. I actually woke up like myself on my own, but right before he did, because my body was like, you're not used to getting this much sleep. What are you doing? So anyway, I'm tired. And I will say, I thought I knew what being a mom would be like because, you know, you read stuff as you prepare for that and you hear other people's stories. And like, of course, I've had many friends who are moms to little ones, but nothing compares to actually doing it. Now that I'm like in it, I realize like I literally understood nothing. Like I knew nothing about what it's like. It's just something you have to do to totally get, I guess. So that feels crazy. I'm loving it though. It makes me feel like so much, even by changing my business now that I'm a mom, it changes you. So anyway, there's a lot more coming on that for another time. But now I want to get into the website stuff because I outlined this episode 2 days ago while Colin was sleeping. I had the idea while he was breastfeeding and started writing it in my phone. The outline on my laptop while he was sleeping. And basically I feel like any like little tiny bits of work I've done since he's been born has been like in those types of moments. But anyway, I think this is a really fun topic. When it came to me, I was like, oh, this is going to be a good episode. So let's get into it. The top thing on every single page that's going to just help you really quickly improve your website. So I'm going to start with the home page. We're going to start at the top, like the page most people are coming into your website from, and then we'll work through to the about, service page, and contact page. So the home page, literally every website has one of these, and depending on what you do in your business, this page will look totally different. There's a lot of change happening industry to industry. And like, honestly, what I would even suggest on this page as a designer would heavily depend on what you're doing in your business. So it's not like this is the same for every single industry. But one thing that goes across the board is the words you say at the very top of the page. Basically, the first thing that someone will read when they land on your website. And these words can literally determine if someone stays and says, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to keep reading this page, or I'm going to click over to the service page or whatever it is. Or if they leave because they're confused, they don't know what you do, maybe they can't tell if you're local to them or not, or if you can solve their problem or not, or it just feels like too much work to process what you are saying because it has a ton of text. I mean, there's so many different elements that can cause someone to click away. We have really short attention spans. So without getting into all the how-tos here, I want to share some examples of what I'm talking about. And what it is brand statements. That's what I call it. That's what I call the text at the very top of the page. You have your logo. You might have an image of sorts, and you have a brand statement. You might have a tagline underneath it as well. But I want to share some examples of both bad brand statements and good brand statements, just so you can like get what I'm saying. And the people who have bad brand statements I'm about to share, they would not be calling it a brand statement. This is just like, they don't know what to put at the top of the website, so they're picking something. And all these I'm sharing are real things I've seen on websites. Literally, when I was working on this outline, I like just typed in some random sites. I was like, okay, I'm going to try to find like some examples of what doesn't work well. So saying, we're so glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by my corner of the internet. Get to know our team that is here to help you. Hi, my name is, put your name in, and I want to tell you my story. So again, those are all things I've seen be the first thing that's said on the site outside of like the logo. They might have the logo and maybe the tagline says like you're a Nashville portrait photographer. But then outside of that, the first thing people see is, thanks for stopping by my corner of the internet. Those are all a waste of space. People know you're happy that they're on your website. You don't need to welcome them like you would if it were a brick and mortar boutique. When someone walks into your small boutique, you want to say, hey, welcome in. How can I help you? You don't have to do that on your website. Just get to the point. Other no's that are going to be more specific, like things not to do, would be anything really bland, cutesy words that don't really mean much, a lot of jargon maybe that'll confuse your audience. Instead of putting something quick and easy to read, doing like a giant paragraph that they have to read, you can have more text up here, but you want to have something that's larger and less words that you're going to be telling the eye to read first. So those are just like some ways to think about it. Some examples that are really great. I'm looking here at, let me see, I think all these I have are clients of mine. So I'm pulling from that. These are not like things I necessarily wrote. Some of them I helped write, but most of these are like the client came up with them. Okay. So first one, Tennessee's largest and longest running festival since 1934. So that's for the West Tennessee Strawberry Festival, which I did their website. It's really fun. And their branding. So that one, like it tells you what it is, straight to the point. They also would have their logo and images and stuff like that alongside it. And maybe like event date info if that's coming up. Equipping women to be deeply rooted in God's word. That is Well-Watered Women's brand statement. All right, one for a photographer, capturing the dreamy moments between crazy and love couples. That is Ashley Mack's brand statement. And then underneath that, she has New Jersey wedding photographer, because again, when you're location-based, you really want to put that up and quick for people to see. But like her actual brand statement, the big text that someone's going to read first is that first part I read. Helping you grow a thriving business and a joy-filled life. That is Amber Housley's brand statement. Really love that one. So with this brand statement, your tagline or another descriptor will typically be near or underneath it, like I'm saying. So like, again, if you're a photographer, maybe you have the brand statement, then directly under it, it says like Nashville and Middle Tennessee brand photography, something like that. That's going to both be good for your SEO and also good to like help people people know, like if they're looking for a photographer, they found you on Pinterest, they're like, I think this person's in Nashville where I live, but I'm not really sure. You're going to tell them right there. Or for me, it could say show it templates and business coaching. Like you just want to get a little more specific, and your logo is going to be nearby too. And that will tell them your name or business name. So again, this is important because it determines what happens next when someone enters through your homepage, which is the most common page people are going to be starting at on your website. So one way to think about this is think about the news app on your phone. If you ever read news that way digitally, if the headline gets you, you're going to click into it, right? If you're like, ooh, that sounds interesting. I want us to think of the headline as like the thing that's getting people to enter your website. So think about that like maybe it's a Facebook ad, maybe it's a search result in Google, maybe it's something they saw on Pinterest or Instagram. That's the headline. It got them to click into it. So now when you click into the news article and you're like, this is really boring, or I'm confused, or like, hey, like that was very clickbaity and now this is not what I'm expecting. You click out of the article, like without even thinking about it. You're probably just like, you click out and then you're already on to like the homepage again, looking for the next article to read. It's really easy. People do the same thing on your website. So like they're brought in maybe through a Facebook ad or through your Instagram. And then when they get to the page and they're like, wait, what even is happening? I don't know what this person does. They're welcoming to their website and telling me their story without like saying what they do. They're going to click out and then you've lost that potential client from step one. So this matters. And that's why I say this is the top priority on the homepage. So if you're going to fix one thing, if you're going to focus on one thing, make sure you have a strong brand statement at the top of your site. And you do not have to overthink this. To share one more really great example, that's like a great example of like keeping it simple. Like I said, I'm on maternity leave and just had a baby, and I've been working with a lactation consultant. And on the lactation consultant's website, their brand statements, I can't remember exactly what it says, but I think it says breastfeeding and lactation support in Middle Tennessee. Like that's all it says. And that's so much better than if it were to say, thanks so much for stopping by my website. We would love to tell you our story about how we got into being lactation consultants. You know, it's like, no, they're telling me, hey, this is for breastfeeding and lactation support for people in Middle Tennessee. So I'm like, cool, that's me. Keep scrolling. Okay, so you don't have to overcomplicate it. Like I shared some really cool, like, I guess, well thought out examples just now, but that's an example of one that's just simple, straight to the point. That works really well too. Okay, so that is the first one for the homepage. All right, let's move on to the about page. Okay, so similar to what I said about the homepage, this page is going to look so different depending on your business and just what you want out of this page. So for example, you might be someone where you're like, I want a really long about page. I want to share my story of how I started my business. I want to share like fun quizzes and like, you know, what my favorite cocktail is, what my Enneagram number is and things like that. I want those things to make a connection point as a personal brand. Other people may be like, I just want to be a quick paragraph about my business with a few photos. It totally is up to you. And honestly, I think like there's not one right way or wrong way with this. For some businesses, like the shorter about page is actually better. And a cool thing about my website templates, I give you the tools to do a really long page if you want to, but you can also do really minimal. Like you can make it work for you. The option is there to expand it as you want to. But if you buy your template and you're like, actually, all I want is a photo and a paragraph, like do it. It's set up for you to do that. So you don't have to use all the sections offered and everyone's end result. It's going to be so unique to them. So on the about page then, what would I say matters most? As I say that you can do short or long, and I think it works beautifully either way. What matters most is the photos. I've talked about this so much on my podcast. I feel like I'm just constantly like, what's the phrase? I'm, again, sleep deprived here, but I'm talking about the same thing over and over again. But let people come to this page and see a smiling face or faces if you're showing a team of people. If you're a brick and mortar or product business, maybe show images of that too, like the interior of the restaurant or the products you sell. But importantly, show some faces, let people look into your eyes. So you need like at least one camera where you're looking at the camera, which is looking at them straight through the computer screen, and let them connect to you. And I think brand photography, that's what we're talking about here, is something people often wait too long to do because it feels really daunting. It feels really expensive when you aren't making money yet. Because a lot of really experienced brand photographers are going to be like, you know, possibly thousands of dollars for a photo shoot, which I get does not make sense when your business has not made any money yet. So I actually would not, like, from from the day you start your business. I'm not saying go out and spend $4,000, which I've never spent that much on a brand photo shoot, by the way. But like, I'm not saying to go do that from day one when your business hasn't made any money. If you're already making money and can afford it, like definitely do some like paid shoots with photographers that you like, are like, okay, I'm going to get a bunch of outfit changes, a bunch of locations. It's going to be awesome and worth it. I've done those kind of shoots and it's so worth it. But don't wait until you can do that. It will not only help your website, but it's going to help all of your marketing to have great photography. So you can start small. And I want to tell you my like quick start small story with brand photography. My first website, the very first one I ever did when I was like, okay, I've kind of been freelancing, but now I'm going to like make this a little more legitimate. It used headshots of me that were taken when I graduated college. So some of my friends and I, my sorority sisters, I was in Chi Omega in college. So we did a photo shoot with the person who actually ended up being my wedding photographer. He was also a student at our school. We like did a photo shoot with him, and I honestly can't even remember if we paid him or not, or if it was like he's our friend, so like he's going to do some photos of all of us. But we did a bunch of photos of us together, and then we all got a few headshots. So some headshots with our graduation caps on, and some without the graduation caps. And I used the ones without it to be my photos on my website. And then that same photographer did an engagement photo shoot with me and Adam, and I had photos from that as well. And I used some of those that were just of me and didn't have Adam in them. And like, that was it. And besides that, I filled in with stock photography. And so then after that, like when I was like, okay, I'm going to like do this brand photo thing, I did an exchange where I did a photographer's branding and he did 2 photo shoots with me. And we both got more experience that way. It was a good trade. I don't always recommend like doing the whole bartering thing, but I think that can work good in some instances. And then next up, probably about a year into my business, I did a paid photo shoot with another photographer. And then after that, eventually I was paying for somewhat frequent photo shoots. So it can be gradual. It doesn't have to be like you have not done a photo shoot ever to like, I'm going to spend thousands on this, right? But it does make a difference on your website because photos help people connect with you, and professional looking photos speak to professionalism in your business. People can tell when it's a really like low quality iPhone selfie. And I really do think that makes a difference to have something that's just even a little more professional. So that's just my number one thing for the About page. People are going to that page to see you, to see your team, to hear about your company, your business, who you are, and having professional photos is going to speak volumes. So if you want to hear more brand photography tips, I'm going to link to these in the show notes. But episode 15 and 16, super, super early on in the podcast, I share like exactly how to plan a brand photo shoot, how I've done that myself, how to get props figured out, outfits, all of it. And in episode 120, I interview a brand photographer who's also an M-Shop customer, and we talk all about planning a brand photo shoot as well. So those are all ones to look at, 15, 16, and number 20. Interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed, so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravy.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravy.com/CHM. Now back to the episode. All right, so now let's talk about the service page. And I know I've said this about every page so far, but this one varies so much business to business too. The final page we're going to talk about though, the contact page, doesn't really change too much, but this one totally does. So I want to give like some just quick like service page tips real fast before I get into the one that I'm like, this is the thing you need to do. So you want to focus on what the service does for them, not what it is. So that's what I like to call results focused marketing and the way you talk about it. So there's what it is, what it does, and what it does for me. Those are the three different levels really of talking about your product or service. So you want to hit all of them, but the what it does for me, which I say for me, I really mean for them, for your customer, that's the big one. So that's the overarching goal of the page. But what I think is the most essential element is when and how you talk about the cost. So if this is for a service, like not a shop page or something like that, then you want the pricing info to come later down the page after you've shared the what it does for them info. So we're learning about what it is. It doesn't even have to be that long of a page. It might be depending on what you're selling, but you're sharing all that information. You're literally selling it and then you're telling the price. You also want the pricing section to be really clear and easy to find. This is something that frustrates me. I'm sure it frustrates you and it definitely frustrates your customers. But when you're like on the service page, you're like, okay, I'm interested. I get it. How much does it cost? Like, what's the range? What's the exact price? What's the starting at? Just give me something. But then like maybe the price is buried deep in a paragraph, or there's like not even any info at all to give us a scope of like what the package is, what the price could be. You don't want it tucked deep away in a paragraph, basically. You want it to be really clear and easy to find. And I get it that like for your business type, it might be that you're not sharing any pricing info at all. It might be that you're sharing a starting at, it might be you're sharing an exact price or a range. Those are really the 4 different ways you could be doing this. And when I'm not talking to you specifically and hearing about your specific business, I can't really say which one's best for you or not, because I really do think all 4 of those can work. I personally have always erred on the side of sharing something and not making people reach out to hear even basic numbers. So like I want to put like at least the starting at or at least the range, if not the exact price, because I just don't like to mess with people in that way. I want to just like give some information. So in my Booked Out Designer course, and I'm sure I'll include this next time I make a course that's like for other business owners besides designers, but in Booked Out Designer, oh my gosh, I share a ton of tips. We have a whole module on pricing, and I share a lot of tips for displaying your pricing down to how to say it, different methods for showing the exact pricing, how to do a range or starting at price, how to like quote someone on a discovery call. Like we go into all kinds of stuff. So that course, that specific module is going to be good for you if you're like, I don't know even where to start with pricing. Like seriously, that one will be a game changer. We go money mindset, we go principles of pricing, price psychology, so much stuff there. But my point is that you don't want to do this haphazardly. This part of the page really, really matters. So don't like focus so much on all the stuff before it, then be like, okay, I'm at the pricing. I'm just going to like put contact me and that's it. Like you really want to be intentional about this, because think about how you feel when you're on someone else's website, trying to figure out if you want to reach out to them, trying to figure out how much it costs. And I do think it's awkward to go on a discovery call with someone having no concept of all of what it costs. And then all of a sudden, like maybe they say it's $4,000. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I only have a budget for $1,000 and now I feel awkward. Like I personally want to avoid that. So like, that's why I'm pro putting something, but you don't want to do this haphazardly. You want to think about the process, the customer journey, all of that. So make the pricing area, first of all, very visible and clear. Draw it out separately from the rest of the content. And decide with intention what you want to do. Are you showing an exact price? Is it a range? Is it a starting at price? Are you making them contact you? If so, how are you going to like talk about that? And then you want a CTA, a call to action after the pricing. Always give them a quick and simple next step. If they see the info, they've read the page, skimmed the page really, and they saw the pricing and now they wanted to do the next step, make it really easy. Go through your own website even and see like, okay, on this page, I'm on my service page. Does this feel easy? Does it feel intuitive? Would someone who needs my service be able to figure out that this is like the next thing they're supposed to do? I personally love to put a button right after the pricing, so that it could be in like literally directly under it or in like the next section. But so that way, like the button, maybe that's leading to your contact page, maybe it's pulling up a form, whatever it's doing, but like just make it so simple for them. So that's what I would say is the most important thing to nail down on the service page, is just like how you're talking about money. And I hope that feels like relieving to some of you, because I know the service page is a hard one to do. It's always been like a hard one for me on my own website of like figuring that out. I do teach like how to do that too in Book.Designer, but I get that it's like hard to do it for yourself. So I hope that's helpful to like hear that like, okay, yes, the whole page matters, but like if you're gonna like right now go like work on fixing one thing, work on the pricing section. All right, so the final page we were going to talk about is the contact page. And I actually did a whole episode on the contact page that you guys loved. It's one of the top episodes that there is about website tips on the podcast. It's episode 48. If you want to scroll back to that one, I literally give you a play-by-play of everything you need on this page. And because I have thought through the page in that extensiveness, it's actually hard for me to pick one thing because this page is so important. And I would say this one is a little more standardized across the industries of like what to include and that sort of thing. So definitely go listen to that episode. It'll literally just help you completely like revamp your contact page. But if I had to pick one thing, I would pick an email address. And I'm tempted to say a really awesome, well thought out contact form. That it would be my second pick. And if you want to hear questions to go on the forum, again, go listen to that episode 48. But some people do a really great form and they don't have an email address on the page. And the email address is important to allow all people to contact you regardless of what they're contacting you about. So when you only have a contact form, you're limiting the people who reach out to you to just the questions on those forms. And a lot of people do really specific contact forms. Like maybe you're saying, what's your wedding date if you're a photographer, or like if you're a life coach, what's the thing you need coaching on? Like you get really specific, right? And that can work great when you're trying to like book people for those services. But having the email allows all options. So they can email you to speak at an event. They can ask you to be on a podcast. They can offer to give you a free product to post about. Whereas if your contact form is like, when's your wedding day? Where's the wedding? Things like that. It's really limiting. So really both the form and email are both important. Again, like I said, it's hard to pick, but I would recommend doing both of those on the page. And really, this page can be simple outside of that. Again, that episode, I get into more details, but like a photo is great to have on it, telling people when you're going to get back to them, and then having that email address, having the form, and just keep it real simple and straightforward. You want this page to be really easy to use, not a lot of fluff, not a lot of things to work around. Okay, friends, so that is it. Again, there's more to these pages, but if you're like, hey, my site needs some refreshing, I don't know where to start, this is exactly where to start. So to recap what I said for each page, homepage was the brand statement being the most important, what you say at the very top, first thing people read on the page. The about page was images of you, your team, your business, whatever makes sense there. Service page is the way you show the pricing. So listen back to that section for more tips on that. And then the contact page would be an email address for people to reach out to you. So in the show notes for this episode, I'm going to link to some more episodes that expand on all this stuff. If you're like, I want to dive deeper into these pages, I want to dive deeper into my website, I'm linking to that contact page one, some stuff on brand photography, a whole episode I did on your website navigation. Like there's so much stuff here, guys. So go back and listen to those. And that's it for now. Thanks for sticking with me. This raspy voiced, very tired new mom. I probably had some fumbles throughout this episode. So thanks for understanding. And I'm going to go back now out of this room and check on Colin. And I'm excited for what's to come in my business once I like come back in from maternity leave, want to have life more regular again. I'm excited to record that postpartum journey episode and kind of share some stuff going on in that sense. And let me know if you would want to hear a birth story episode. I know like this is a business podcast, so that feels kind of random. And I haven't decided that I want to do that yet, but I do I lean towards it and lean against it depending on the day. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any friends, fellow business owners who you're like, they have been talking about wanting to work on their website for a while, please send them this episode. Get them help. Show them what they need to do on each page since we're walking through it here. And if you want a way, I know I say this all the time, and I haven't really talked about my templates in this episode, but if you're like, these are great, like help me do it easily, like help me know the right places to put the photos, know the right way to lay out the brand statement, to lay out the pricing, check out my website template shop. I said that really fast. Check out my website template shop, M-Shop. All of those templates are set up to help you do these things really easily. Like the sections are there. You just have to put in the information. So like you're not going to have to worry about laying it out. The design aspect of it is, and the strategy really is taken care of for you, because it's like saying, hey, here are different things you can do. Now you just got to put in your own information, and the copywriting prompts throughout it even guide you in that way. We offer excellent customer support to help you get things set up, as well as a course to show you how to use the templates. So anyway, it's so worth it. Definitely check those out. ElizabethMcCravy.com/shop will take you there if you want to just like see them and kind of see what I'm talking about. So that is it for now, and we'll be back next week with another new episode. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode all the way until the end. I appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this episode, then I want to invite you to check out my website template shop too. Over on elizabethmccravy.com, you'll find show it website templates that are easy to use, strategically designed, and created to help you book more clients and customers. Maybe your current website is really boring. Maybe it's a challenge to update, and maybe even it's that thing that you really feel like is just completely holding your business back. Your website needs to be strategically and intentionally designed in order for it to convert your viewers into raving customers, and that's exactly what my M-Shop templates do. So these are pre-made show it website templates where you can plug and play your content into it with ease and then get started with a website that's designed to actually help you make more money. These templates are designed to be SEO friendly on the back end, and they're not just pretty, but they are very strategic and with all the strategies I teach on this podcast. And best of all, they're easy for you to set up all by yourself. So shop them at elizabethmccravy.com/shop and come join the M-Shop family of hundreds of happy customers. And as an added perk, you can use the code BBPodcast at checkout to get 10% off any template as a thank you for being a part of the podcast family. So that's BB Podcast for 10% off any template over at elizabethmccravy.com. And if you love this podcast, don't forget that you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts so that you never miss an episode, and leave a rating and review for the show wherever you're listening. Share it with a friend, share it on Instagram or Facebook. That's a great way to support the podcast and get the word out. All right, I'll be back next week with another new episode.